Yesterday when I spoke, I said that I will be giving more of a macro overview about the region, and today I was going to give more on a micro level. And the reason is that I think when I started the business, I actually did not start welcomed as a family into the family business. My father, I'm the oldest with the family, and then I had brothers, and my father's expectation were always the brothers will succeed in business. So, when my brothers wanted to travel to continue their education, they were permitted. When I wanted to travel, I was not permitted because I was the first in the family. So I was asked to stay back home and continue my education in the university. Now, this brings me back to a very important point, which is the education. Once you have the proper education, you can actually achieve what you strive for. But if you're not given the opportunity to take whatever you would like to study, I think there is ways that you can actually achieve that over time. So the way the system works, I don't know if people are familiar with this, but whatever we have in high school education, you get a score, and at that score, that's the college that you enter. Whether you like it or not, that's the one that you're going to get into. So unless you score very high, then you have the opportunity to choose. So with my score, I was only able to achieve into education. And unfortunately, I was given the worst of the worst, which is ill said, but it was home economics. From everything in the world, I never took home economics in school. I never studied it, and I ended up being thrown into home economics, which I loathed from day one. And for the next 3 years, I was crying literally every day at home when I went back home, because I did not want to study education, and I didn't want to study home economics. That's not my aim in life. So at the fourth year, I came to an agreement with my father, and I told him I'd like to come into the business. And he looked at me, he said, "What business?" I said, "I want to come and join the family business." And he said, "But you still have 1 more year to go." I said, "But I hate what I'm doing, so you might as well just put me in business and plunk me there." So he said, "Okay," and he put me in, and then he said, "Do whatever you do, but stay in this office. Don't come out of this office. Just stay there." So he looked at me, and he kept looking at me, going back and forth every day. I would go to university in the morning, drive back from university every day, go back to the office, and stay there until 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night and go home. In the beginning, he thought it was a matter of a game. I'll get fed up. Like if I study and then I go back and I'm tired, something will happen. It didn't work. So I kept on going like this for the whole year, in my last year of education. On the last day of my graduation ceremony, he gave me the job. He said, "Today I'm hiring you full-time to work with me." So I was very happy. I achieved the first obstacle, and I thought this was the biggest I've done so far, and I think I'm going to be successful. I was wrong. Comes the next thing, and then I discover I'm not prepared to run a family business. I've just studied education. I need to be educated. And I had a very good boss. He was a Canadian, and we were opening up the largest shopping center in Oman. And at that moment, East Lansing is the shopping center training institute where they had. So he said, "You need to go and study shopping center and get certified." So he goes to my father and says, "She needs to go." And my father says, "My daughter is not traveling to the States. I stopped her from traveling every day to school, and you want me to take her all the way to the States?" He said, "But it's necessary." So he had to sign, and that's where I told Alex that he undertook that I will be safe if I travel from Oman all the way to the US, and no harm will come to me in East Lansing, Michigan, and then I will have to come back again. So he signed it, and my father took the paper, and I remember he kept it in the safe, thinking that if something happens, he'll go and throttle this Canadian guy who threw me there. So I arrived there, and the poor guy was so much worried about me, because I had to land into Detroit before changing the flights to East Lansing. And I didn't know that, but he sent me this big guy waiting for me at the front of the day, and he said, "Are you Asila?" And I said, "No." And I walked out. Because I was so scared. I'm not supposed to talk to anyone. I'm supposed to just go to school and come back from school. I'm not supposed to meet and socialize with anyone, especially people who I don't know who they're supposed to be, you know. So that whole thing went on well, and I went back home. Then we moved forward, and I was the first female to join the family business. People started talking in Oman. "Oh, there's a woman working. We've never had this before, and she's working in her family business." I was kind of recognized a few years later, and then suddenly I heard my name being mentioned in a royal decree that I'm the first woman to be placed in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Then starts my second life struggle. I thought that was like the first time that you actually achieve something, and people will start clapping and be happy that there is a woman sitting in the Chamber of Commerce, and this is a wow thing. I hear everybody in the news, they keep saying this is the first female in the Arab world that actually sat on the Chamber of Commerce. I never knew. It's like, you know, you're thinking that you're actually doing something, and all of a sudden now you discover that you're the first in everything, you're the first in the Arab world, all of a sudden. And you're hearing there's people on the news talking about you and they don't even know your name, and you're saying, oh, there's a woman in Oman that became the first woman in the Chamber of Commerce, but I don't have her name, but she's there. And you listen to yourself and you're thinking, this is me, and I didn't know I was that far, you know, so it's kind of interesting. But then people were all around the world were saying this is such a remarkable thing, but come back home. And my father's brothers were also upset that this was happening. This is such a big shame on the family that all of a sudden there's a woman from our family sitting in a room with 20 other men in the Chamber of Commerce. Now imagine this, the Chamber of Commerce all of a sudden has just become a single room with 21 seats, and there's one woman sitting there. And the whole thing got really serious. I'm talking about really serious, where even my brothers, and you know, in Oman it's a very intertwined society, like you cannot get your brothers upset or your sisters upset. You need to make sure that the whole family is very happy. So all the brothers were shutting the phone on my father's face. They won't talk to him anymore. The whole disconnect is there. Already now we're facing a major crisis in the family that I'm sitting in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. One day, a few days later, my uncle calls me and he said, you need to come and see me now. You have caused such a lot of pain and grief in the family. You need to resign. And I will take you personally to the ministers, the Minister of Royal Court, and you will go to him and you will tell him that you do not want this job anymore. And I looked at him and I heard him, I said, Uncle, you can speak whatever you want. And then he started going on and on and on and on, how much this whole thing is going on. And then you need to do something really serious. And I told him, what do you want me to do? And he said, give up your post to one of your cousins, or give it up to one of your brothers. You know, it's much more more respectable for us. Just give it up. I said, but they haven't done anything. They haven't gotten to that stage yet. It's okay. You give it to them. They deserve it better than you do. So after listening to him, and I gave him like his chance for 45 minutes to speak nonstop. And then after that, I told him, listen, let me try it out. If it's such a big offense for my family, I will come to you personally, and I will ask you to take me to the minister's house, and I will resign, or I will give it to my brother, or I will give it to my cousin, or I'll give it to whoever you want, but just give it to me. Give me the time to actually try it out. He then said, okay, you can try it out, but you will come back. I said, okay, fine, I'll come back. Never went back again for 4 years. I completed my 4 years. Now, the good thing about this is that in societies such as our society, you have the blessing of the head of the government, which is, in our case, His Majesty. And this has been very kind, because he's the one who pushes the progress of women. But the culture society was not so much accepting to this. Now, in our case, I was permitted to enter. I had this chairman at the Chamber of Commerce who was given orders to actually make sure that my life is easy and not make my life difficult. It was so sweet. Every time I used to go and I would get anything I want. So there was like the best 4 years of my life. Anything I wanted was granted to me. It was like no questions asked. This was remarkable. I mean, you get there to that stage and you think that it's going to be another fight. It's not a fight. It's just that you need to prove yourself, and you need to keep on proving yourself in order for you to achieve better. And as time goes by, you actually try, and this is something which I think I've noticed, is that whatever I do, I don't feel I have achieved anything yet. I keep on doing. This happened now since 1999 till today. And I kept doing lots of things during this time, since I graduated till today, but I still feel I haven't done enough. And the only time I actually figured it out is a few months ago. I was in an event, social event, and then one of the cousins came to me and she said, my friends want to meet you. They think so much highly of you. And I think, why? I said, I didn't do anything yet. She said, no, but you've achieved so much. I said, but I don't think I have yet. I think the sense of us not being able to feel that we have done something yet is quite frustrating for me sometimes, because I always want to do more, and I think that I have more to give and more to do in the future. Now, the other thing which I also say is that education never stops, and I personally believe in education a lot. I did, after I finished my my Funny East class thing, but I also continued to do my Harvard Business School. I applied for it myself, and I finished, I completed that program. I thought that was enough. It was not enough. I did my master's degree 2 years ago. I completed it at London Business School. It's the sense of you wanting to learn more, and there's something out there that you actually need to achieve. And I always say that there's two things that I love a lot. One is the support of the people who are always there to support me. That's great. I love them. But I love even more the people who like to put me down. Those are my favorites, because these are the guys that I will always make sure that to prove them wrong. It's like they give me the boost for me to actually achieve something better. I've been called failure to my face. I've been called someone who's very good at doing entertainment programs. Just go and do your stuff, you know, prepare the dinners for us and prepare the lunches for us. It was like, that's the woman's role of being there. So that's why it's very important that we actually change this. And for me, it's very important to make sure that the company I started, which was only in November last year, which is the first private equity firm in Oman, to make sure that it really succeeds, because this is going to be the first private equity in Oman. At the same time, it's going to be run by the first female CEO in Oman. And that's, I made sure that that's done.